Good afternoon, dear children. I hope you're all well. Children, let us go on to do a new topic in English prose, that is, The King of the Golden River. This story is written by John Ruskin. Children, before we read the lesson and understand it, let's learn a little bit of John Ruskin. John Ruskin was a leading English art critic of the Victorian era. As well as an art patron, draftsman, watercolorist, philosopher, prominent social thinker, he wrote on subjects as varied as geology, architecture, myth, ornithology, literature, education, botany, and political economy. In the ancient country of Syria, there lay a beautiful and fertile land called Treasure Valley. Surrounded on all sides by high mountain peaks, the region never knew famine. Treasure Valley produced bountiful crops of apples, hay, grapes, and honey. Above the valley, beautiful waterfalls fell in torrents. One of these shone like gold in the sunlight, and thus it was named the Golden River. Treasure Valley was owned by the three brothers. The elder two brothers were stingy and mean. They were good farmers, but killed everything that did not bring them money. They killed the blackbird, the hedgehog, and even the crickets. They never paid their servant a good wage, but would beat them up till they could not stand any more. The youngest brother, Gluck, was a good and honest 12-year-old lad. Although his heart was filled with pity for the poor, he was helpless against his brothers. His brothers ill-treated him and made him do all the scrubbing and cooking, and yet did not favor him at all. Suddenly Gluck was startled to hear a knock at the door. On peeping out of the window, he saw the most peculiar little imaginative creature, only about 4 feet 6 inches tall, dressed in odd, old-fashioned clothing, who begged to come in out of the rain. Gluck knew that what his brothers would do if they returned and found a stranger using their fire for warmth, and he was afraid to open the door. But his heart was so good and tender that he could no longer refuse the stranger. Gluck feared to give him any food. His brothers, however, had promised him one slice of mutton, and he was prepared to give the stranger that piece. Before he could finish cutting it, the brothers came home. Furious on seeing the stranger, they attempted to throw the stranger out. But each time the evil brothers attempted to strike the old man, they were only thrown back upon the floor. Wrapping his long cloak about him, the old man told them that he would come back at midnight and then never call them again. That night the evil brothers woke up to hear a terrible storm. The roof was gone from their room, and in the darkness, bobbling about like a cock, was the old man. He told them that they could find his calling card on the kitchen table. The calling card read, Southwest Wind, Esquire. Children, now let's go on to read the lesson. Listen to it very carefully. Lesson number 34, The King of the Golden River, Part 1. Long, long ago, in the mountainous part of the country, there was a fertile valley. Fertile means able to produce great crops. There were many waterfalls leaping down the mountain tops, leaping and jumping, but not into the valley. They all ran down the other side of the mountain. One of the falls was very high and shone like gold in the beams of the evening sun. Beams means rays. People called it the Golden River. Now, though there were no streams running down to the valley itself, the wind constantly brought the clouds to the valley. Constantly means every time, continuously. Even when the rest of the country was dry, it always rained in the valley. The valley, the wind, and the clouds made the crops green, the hay high, the apples red, the grapes purple, and the honey sweet. People called it the Treasure Valley. The Treasure Valley belonged to the three brothers, Squats, Hans, and Glucks. The two older brothers were big, ugly, and wicked. They were good farmers, but they killed everything that was not profitable to them. Even little things like blackbirds, hedgehogs, and crickets. They did not treat their servants well and gave them only poor wages. They waited till the corn had become very expensive in the market and then sold it for twice its value. They were very rich, but they never ever gave even so much as a penny to the poor. People called them the Black Brothers. The youngest of the three was only 12 years old. He was just the opposite of his brothers. He was kind to every living thing, though his own brothers were cruel to him and made him do all the cooking and mending and the housework for them. One evening, the two brothers had gone out. As usual, they had warned Gluck to let nobody in and give nothing out. Gluck was to get their dinner ready for them. Good afternoon, dear children. I hope you're all well. Children, let us go on to do a new topic in English prose, that is, the King of the Golden River. It was raining very hard outside and the weather was very cold. Just then there was a double knock on the door. Gluck went to the window to put his head out to see who it was. He saw the most extraordinary looking gentleman standing at the door. Extraordinary means strange. The strange visitor was very short, with a large nose, red cheeks, curly moustache, and merry twinkling eyes. He wore a conical cap as high as himself and a cloak 4 times as long. "I'm wet. Let me in," said the stranger. "I beg your pardon, sir," said Gluck. "I am very sorry, but I really can't. My brothers would beat me to death if I did any such things." But Gluck saw how hard it was raining and how cold it was and how wet the gentleman looked. So he opened the door and let the stranger in. Gluck thought he would let the stranger get warm inside for some time and asked him to leave before his brothers came home. The stranger, however, had no plans of leaving. In fact, he told Gluck that he had nothing to eat for 2 days and was very hungry. It melted Gluck's heart to hear this, so he decided to give the stranger a part of his own dinner. Before the stranger had eaten it, however, the wicked brothers returned. They were shocked to see the little gentleman sitting in the house. At once the brothers began to shout at Gluck. Squatch threw a rolling pin at Gluck. At that instant, the stranger put in his conical cap and the rolling pin went spinning to the corner of the room. The brothers turned to the visitor and ordered him to get out of the house. The little man asked them humbly to let him stay as it was so cold and wet outside. But the evil brothers wouldn't listen. They rushed at the old man to throw him out of the house. To their surprise, they found that they couldn't touch him. Instead, they were themselves swept into the corner with the rolling pin. Then the old man gathered his cloak and cap and said, "At 12 o'clock tonight, I'll call again. But since you have treated me badly, it will be the last visit I pay you." Then he went away like a whirlwind. Whirlwind is like the wind turning round and round. That night, a big storm woke the brothers. It shook the house and blew away the roof. Once again, the wicked brothers saw the strange visitor. He was sitting on a cloud, bobbling up and down. The meaning of cloak, a warm piece of clothing, and bubbling or bobbling is moving quickly. "You may go to your brother's room. I have not damaged it," he told Hans and Squash. "Remember, this is my last visit. You will find my card on the table." And with those words, he disappeared. In the morning, the brothers saw from the window that the storm had swept away whole trees and crops from the treasure valley. Everywhere they saw only red sand and grey mud. The valley was a picture of ruins. The brothers then crept into the kitchen. On the kitchen table there was a small white card. It read, "Southwest Wind, Esquire." Children, I hope you have understood the lesson. Now, open up your Balbariti textbooks to lesson number 34 and read the lesson very carefully. Thank you. Stay home. Stay safe. God bless.